Now, moving on to the Fantasy Premier League portion of the show. We are in the middle of the series. Cyrus wasn't a part of this series when we were talking about Chelsea, but he'll catch on very quickly, where we discuss the best buys out of each team. We're going into Christmas. We're going into this run of games now. We're in December. We've got 5 game weeks to go. So we're trying to give people a sense of when you look at a side and you need a player, what is it that you probably would try and look for? And so this week, we've got Liverpool, Manchester City, Manchester United, Newcastle, and Sheffield. A very intriguing set of teams and some interesting picks there from the guys. The first team that we're going to talk about is Liverpool. And Liverpool's an interesting one because most of the defense is injured, but we saw Trent make an appearance over the weekend and Robertson. I'm going to ask this one. I'll probably take this one myself for the defense and the goalkeeping department of Liverpool. I think with Liverpool, if you want to have a Liverpool defender, you can't go wrong with either Robertson or Trent Alexander-Arnold. Robertson's a cheaper one. However, with AB's strategy of only picking defenders who are 4.5 or less, those two don't make it in. So then you're going to have to start looking at guys like Joel Matip. Fabinho's a midfielder. He's not a defender, so he was demoted. And you're going to find yourself in a little bit of a bind.
Defending is a demotion. I mean, geesh.
No, it's not a demotion. Well, he's been dropped from the
demotion. It's like, well,
he wasn't demoted.
You've done very well, son. You were playing in midfield. However, we're going to have to bring you back.
The team needs you. The team needs you.
I'll throw a name in there, though, Paul.
Okay, sure.
Neco Williams at 3.9. Depending on when Trent comes back, he's probably one of the. I mean, you're not going to get a defender for below 4 that's playing at the moment. So at 3.9, if you really strap for cash, you'll probably be able to bring him in. And, I mean, the next couple games, like I said, depending on when Trent comes back. I mean, they got Fulham, then the crunch match against Spurs, but then they got Crystal Palace, West Brom. So, in terms of fixtures, if you're looking at that, could be good.
Yes. Yeah, Nico Williams played 67 minutes over the weekend, then Trent came back on. But obviously, you're going to have to play with that. It's very hard. Yes. And then Joel Matip's 5.4, so he's quite expensive. And I think you'd probably I'd rather go get someone else from like a mid-table team to do that. But from that Liverpool's perspective, that could be it. Dean, in the midfield, where are you looking in that Liverpool midfield?
So everyone's looking Salah Mane. Okay. So I made a bit of a rash decision and got rid of Salah for De Bruyne, and I brought in Jota because I think he offers more value for money in terms of Liverpool assets in the midfield. I got him at like 6.9. I think he's at 7 at the moment, Jota. The only thing that's now obviously gone and happened, Jota doesn't start over the weekend. So I'm trying to punt him to try and get, I don't know, maybe Klopp watches this and just it feels bad for me and puts Jota on.
Hey, look, Bruno didn't start against West Ham. Exactly. Who would have known how many points he would have scored had he played the full 90? Everyone was in a little bit of a tears, hoping that Manchester United actually conceded, so Bruno could come back on. Which
but exactly, I mean, if you look at Salah's at 12 plus, Jota's at 7. If they're both playing in terms of value, you can free up so much cash if you get rid of Salah and go to Jota, and you've got so much more money.
And
have
a much more balanced midfield, and you can then have like De Bruyne, Son, a whole.
You can then go. Yeah, you can then go your 3-5-2 instead of a 3-4-3 if you do that. But
fancy Patrick Bamford getting benched. AB Liverpool's strike force. We've only seen one man play for them. That is Bobby Firmino. Do we look elsewhere, or is there a case for Bobby Firmino in FPL?
No, guys. Great Liverpool player, great player for Klopp system, but go elsewhere. There are strikers who actually score goals in the Premier League, and Bobby Firmino is not one of them. Not to say that he's not a great sort of false nine for them. But for fantasy football, you're wasting your time.
Look, the
I mean,
great
when Jota was starting, he was scoring goals in
that position.
Arguably that position, but then he played on the left or right. Yeah.
That was the fascinating thing. When Firmino wasn't playing and Jota played there, he scored a lot of goals. But look, the great Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang also is not scoring goals, so maybe Firmino could be turning the corner. I don't know if you've got Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang.
Was there a clause in his contract that stipulated like a minimum number of goals he had to score?
In whose contract? Firmino Aubameyang's contract.
Aubameyang.
I don't think there was.
Arsenal's lawyers missed a trick there, but anyway.
Hey, look, there's a lot more drama there. Let's move on to the next team. That is the team we spoke about, the Manchester Derby, the light blue half of Manchester City. Cyrus, in that City defense and goalkeeping department, who's the one guy that guys in FPL need to consider? Is Ruben Diaz the value that he is?
I think the problem you have is you're going to overpay for any one of the either goalkeeper or defenders. So Edison is at 6 at the moment, whereas when you look at City's best performing defender, that's Kyle Walker. He's a 6.2, and so that doesn't just go against AB's rule; it obliterates it. I tend to feel if you're looking for somebody who's relatively good value at 5.5. It's Cancelo. I think Cancelo's been one of the unspoken and unheralded good players for City this season. He's getting up and down that left flank. He's sending in crosses. The problem is that the guys just haven't been making full use of them, but he's been really good for them. I always shy away from centre backs because they don't give you enough value. Once they concede, there's no way for you to claw your way back. And so I tend to always feel like, okay, a wing back could just throw a cross in and then you'll get something. But I think Cancelo is probably the best value.
So not Mendy on the other side? I think he is also quite overpriced.
He's I mean, Mendy's coming in at 5.9. That is ridiculous pricing for him. And then you're also like, what does he actually do? And this is the thing is that I think City are being punished for being City on FPL because they've got expensive players. The players then just that value is translated into the FPL numbers, and they just don't add up. I mean, I could imagine a Trent or a Andy Robertson being in the 6s, 6.5 or even more, but for a Mendy to be touching 6, guys,
that's too much.
I mean, Mendy is actually just a worse Serge Aurier. And Serge Aurier is not really doing a heck of a lot of stuff.
Serge Aurier is untouchable at the moment. Don't touch Serge Aurier. He's amazing.
Okay.
I don't know.
Enough about Spurs. It still hurts. I looked at City's midfield, and I felt, and as you were talking, Si, there's like a premium on City players. And the one player that doesn't have that premium, and I think he's just properly priced in that midfield, is Riyad Mahrez. But obviously in that midfield, you look at KDB, he's 11.8, quite expensive. If you really have like a Salah or someone with a 12 in your side. Sterling's just having a mare of a season. You can see he started scoring goals. He scored that one goal over the weekend and he assisted. But if you want to buy low, probably it's either Sterling or Mahrez in that side. Sterling's still quite expensive at 11.4. I think this season he should probably be dropping down to the 10s. But Riyad Mahrez is the guy. He's held by 9.1% of FPL managers, so that's a differential type of player. And so far, he's in that midfield. He scored the most goals, and he's also had the most assists, 4 goals, 4 assists. So it looks as though Pep's finding joy in having Mahrez on, and he's keeping Ferran Torres on the bench, which says a lot.
Is that? I mean, I tend to feel there's a bit of a misnomer there because Mahrez's figures. I mean, his hat trick boosted his goal numbers a heck of a lot, and so you're almost seeing him as being a bit of an outlier. When I don't think Mahrez has played enough and done enough in the games he's played in for him to be, like he's not a sure thing, and I always worry about that.
But you also can rotate him out at any point.
Yes, rotation. Yes, Pep rotation is my thing, but because they haven't played so well this season, Pep has to pick an 11 that's going to try get into to chase the guys at the top, and I think he's stuck between that, and I don't think he wants to rotate as much, especially at the front because guys aren't scoring goals. Wahid was supposed to talk about the City strikers. Who wants to talk about when Aguero is coming back, if he is, and Gabriel Jesus if AB's got that. In terms of City strikers, I know Aguero says he's fit, but we haven't seen him play. Can Gabriel Jesus be a differential option for you right now?
So, I mean, okay, so I know Aguero's got also like personal stuff going on elsewhere because Diego Maradona is his father-in-law. So, their family suffered a loss of late. But I honestly wouldn't touch Aguero or Jesus right now because the guy who Pep has seemed to be going with the false nine, it's not working really well, is Sterling. So, I mean, you're going to put money in Jesus. Jesus was great when he joined the league. He was quick. He was feeding into possibly the greatest City team that's ever been around. And now they seem a little bit fractured. They seem a little bit tired. They seem to be running off fumes. I don't know. They're probably going to give United 7 goals this week, but I think Sterling will at least get 3 of those. But yeah, I wouldn't touch any City attackers right now.
If you have to buy a City striker, you're doing something wrong in FPL.
Yeah, there's something funny going on there.
Okay. With that, let's move on to the other side of Manchester, the team hosting City this weekend. Manchester United. AB, you were selected to pick the defense, which I thank you, Dean, for that. Dean's our allocator, if you'd like to know. AB, who are we selecting? David De Gea?
No. So no. I honestly think Dave's been really bad of late. Has to maybe do with injury, the shocking front four he has. If, gun to my head, I was forced to pick a United back 6 player, because sometimes we play with a back 5, and then you've got Dean or other Dean, or other Dean, Henderson, or De Gea in the back. I actually wouldn't go with Harry Maguire because he's too expensive. Because this dude's, your United defender is only going to give you 2 points. Maybe 1 if they score 3 or more goals. So I would say Victor Lindelof. He plays just as much as Maguire. And also he wasn't scarred mentally by Spurs because he didn't play that game. Eric Bailly played. So yeah, Victor Lindelof's 4.8. Don't sign him. But if you are forced to sign him, like if you guys are in some sort of weird fantasy team or fantasy league where you have to sign a Man United player and it has to be a defender, then that's your man, Victor Lindelof, 4.8. Don't sign Luke Shaw because, yeah, he's...
Okay. Playing into Wahid's hands. Wahid had Manchester United midfield. Bruno Fernandes. Is he the only one in that midfield to pick? Or I know Marcus Rashford and Mason Greenwood are also in there, so I know Wahid would probably punt Mason Greenwood because he loves the darling child of Manchester.
Loves him some Greenwood. And Greenwood couldn't rescue them, surprisingly. But I'd still say Bruno is the main one. I badmouthed Marcus Rashford in a previous episode when I said I just don't see what he does well enough. I'm still to see it, but he has his flashes. I think that if you're picking somebody because the derby is the first game, Rashford might be that guy. I think he's got the sort of BMT about him. As a Chelsea fan, we've seen it. But I think it has to be Bruno.
And also with Cavani out, we don't know how long it might be. Rashford might be pushed up into that 9 role because Martial's showing people easy manga. Dean, from a striking perspective up front, who did you look at in this United team as value? I see Cavani there at 8.1. I think
that's honestly your I'd go. Cavani, if you're looking United, you have to go Cavani 8.1. Martial at 8.7 or whatever it is. He's just too much, and the guy's terrible. So really don't get Martial in. I think a lot of people fell for that trap because sometimes Martial does really well. He goes on a little bit of a spree for 2 weeks, and then you're like, whoa, have to get Martial in, and then he disappears. I think
it's important to note here, Dean, that last season Martial was very popular in FPL because he was a midfielder. playing as a number
exactly.
9, and he was actually scoring goals.
Exactly.
Well, he scored about 20 goals, and we thought he could give us 15. The man looks like he's going to give us 5.
He did enough to keep his job. I mean,
Exactly.
can you blame the guy?
We gave him a contract. That's the problem. No, we didn't give him a contract. It's just...
But the big thing, if you're looking at United, they got City this weekend, but they got Sheffield next, the next game week. And, I mean, you can put that
That's Bruno land there. That's That's seal clubbing right there.
Easy decision there.
Jeez.
Dean, I'm going to go back to you. Next team is Newcastle United. Anybody from the tune that you can put in that team in your defense? I know they've got a lot of value options in that side.
Yeah, so I actually had this player for a while, Jamal Lewis, because I kind of punted him at the beginning, thought he could do really well. Was the most frustrating person because I thought, the kid can put in a good cross. Running up that left side, he's going to play in that Newcastle team, and he just didn't deliver in the beginning. He went from a 4.5, he's now down to 4.3. But there's probably more reason to get him at the moment, especially if you're looking at it this week. They've got West Brom this week, and then Leeds, and then Fulham. So it's a bit of a battle of the bottom guys over there. And yeah, if you're looking at that sort of Newcastle defense, it's less than 4.5, so it meets our criteria. He's going to play, so guaranteed 2 points probably, unless he gets a yellow card, and at least the kid can put in a cross. So
Javier Manquillo, because AB selected him, and he seems to get a lot of love from Manquillo.
That's exactly why I don't choose him, because I have to try and catch AB in fantasy. I choose opposite players. But yeah, there is a lot of unlocked sort of potential in that Newcastle defense, but a kind of pick your poison situation, depending on who you want to get frustrated with more. So,
okay, Cyrus. Speaking of frustrations, how frustrating was it to pick a player in that Newcastle midfield?
Probably as frustrating as it is for Steve Bruce. I think Newcastle fans wish that takeover had just happened. Because when you're looking at the likes of Jeff Hendrick being one of your best performing midfielders, things are not going well for you. And I'd say probably he's the one that I'd say, if you're going to pick somebody, pick him. He's got a little bit of something when they need it. But the problem for Newcastle is that they just haven't gotten much production all the way through this team. So it doesn't really matter who you pick. The only person that you'd have to pick is further up the field, and that's Callum Wilson, who I'm sure will be spoken about. But I think Jeff Hendrick's a good bet. And Miguel Almiron. It's hard to steal the shine. There's only one shine.
Thanks for teaming up, Cyrus. Newcastle striker. There's only one man to look at. Don't buy Andy Carroll. It's Callum Wilson. If you buy Andy Carroll, please just stop playing.
Stop playing FPL.
Yes, Joe
Unless
Linton's
you are
there.
Andy Carroll.
Yes. Well, I still wouldn't put myself in the team if I was him. Joe Linton's there. He's at 5.7, but here's the thing about Callum Wilson. He's that differential. If you're chasing guys like AB and they've got Watkins or Bamford inside, Callum Wilson can be that differential for you. Slightly expensive than Bamford. He's at 6.6. Bamford's at 6.1, but he's sixth in terms of points collection in strikers, and yeah, so he for me is a differential pick. And right now, going into Christmas, the next 3 games, West Brom, Leeds, and Fulham, it's crying out for Callum Wilson.
Totally agree. Totally agree.
Yeah, moving off of Andy Carroll, Dean gave himself Sheffield United's defense. I think that's probably the easiest thing you could do. Is it Aaron Ramsdale that you're picking in Sheffield United?
I mean, that's the only person you should even consider picking anywhere close to that Sheffield defense. It's a shambles. I mean, last year we were so lucky to have Lundstrom in that defense and then playing as a midfield. There's no ways you can get anything close to that this season. But look, Sheffield are what? They're 1 point from 11 games. They leaking goals all over the place. So again, if you in one of those weird leagues where you have to pick a Sheffield defender / goalkeeper, go Ramsdale. If not, rather maybe delete the FPL app. Just give up. Don't even look anywhere near that. But yeah, I wouldn't go anywhere other than Ramsdale.
AB, for Sheffield in the midfield, we had an incredible season of Lord Lundstrom last year. He isn't doing much. Is there anybody else that you could, if you're looking for like a bargain basement guy to sit on your bench, is there anyone you can find?
Yeah, so weirdly enough, I watched the Sheffield game. I can't remember who they played. It was probably, I don't know. It's a weird game. I don't know. It was a weird game.
Are you okay, AB? Do you need to come and look for you?
I'm not okay. Actually, who did they play? Who did they play last? It was
Leicester.
Yeah. Anyway, so I noticed, I made like a joke and I was like, oh, there's two Olivers up front. One was Ollie McBurney and one was Oliver Burke. But Oliver Burke is an FPL midfielder and he is 4.3. Look, he's not going to score goals because Sheffield don't score goals. He's not going to win games because Sheffield don't win games. But, I mean, by all means, at 4.3, if you need someone who is going to maybe get you 2 points here or there just to fill your squad with other guys, go for it. Fun fact also, this dude has not scored a Premier League goal. So, also, I don't know why he's playing right behind.
They also have another Oliver, Ollie Norwood, in that midfield.
Ollie Norwood is royalty, okay? Ollie Norwood is royalty.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Fun fact on FPL.
Anyway.
Okay. Look how it happened. So Sheffield have 5 strikers, all reasonably priced under 5.6, Cyrus. But there's a £134 million striker who is struggling to shake off that tag, and he's probably the cheapest guy, but he's not getting game time. Who did you pick in that Sheffield? Yeah, who did you pick in that Sheffield?
I'd say McBurney. The crazy thing is, right, like there was a stat that came up when Sheffield United played Chelsea, and that was that Adam McGoldrick hadn't scored goals. And then the goals he scored last season were against Chelsea. Well, would you believe it? He's that kind of guy. He just loves to repeat himself. But the thing is, he's not repeating that trick with other teams. And so if you're going to go for a Sheffield United striker, McBurney is the most likely to get you points. But I have a soft spot for Ryan Brewster as well because he's also a Chelsea youth graduate. So I'd love for him to come good.
So who isn't a Chelsea youth graduate? Because he's like
pretty much everyone. I think we've had a heck of an academy, and some of them can't make the cut and go to Arsenal. So it's one of those things where we keep donating.
Yes, you need to do something to come to Arsenal, and then start doing it. Captaincy picks this weekend. The usual suspects. Are there anybody else that you'd like to look at? I think there's a tasty one with Liverpool playing Fulham away. The derby itself, City United, you could pick either one, maybe KDB or Bruno, who knows. The Mourinho team is going to play Palace away in a London derby, and Leicester's playing Brighton for all those who want to be like me, find a differential captain in Jamie Vardy, who hasn't done much these past 2 weeks. And Chelsea also plays Everton, so there might be a Pulisic Timo Werner play if someone's got those two in. Sai, I'm going to start with you. Captaincy picks, who you think might get something extraordinary out of this week?
I think it has to be Mo Salah. It's such a simple pick. You're just like, I mean, Liverpool should do well in the games they play. The problem being the second match in the doubleheader is against Spurs, and it's going to be tough. But I do think if somebody's going to score in that game, it is probably going to be him. So, you know, make your pick now for the first game, which is Fulham, I think we said, and then hoping to get more in the second one. The same could be said for any of the other players, but I think Mo Salah is the one.
Okay. Dean, who's your captaincy pick? Are you going with your old faithfuls, Son and Kane?
Yeah, this is the first weekend I'm really nervous because I don't have Salah. And everyone's going to captain him. I just hope, I don't know, hopefully he goes to Egypt sometime over the next 2 days, has another wedding and catches COVID. But yeah, it's Kane in a in a London derby always delivers. So Kane captain for me this weekend. Something's going to happen. He will return something. So I have to go Kane.
AB?
So yeah, I don't know. Okay, everyone's going with, you know, the obvious choices with Salah here, and okay, Kane, because Dean doesn't have Salah, so I'm bad. But I don't know. I'm looking at that last game of the week, and I'm just thinking, you know what, Jamie Vardy could do something against Brighton. He could be a very differential captain. He hasn't scored in a while as well. You know, Vardy doesn't like doing that. He always likes to reward his owners with, you know, goals every.
He scored last week.
Oh, did he score last week?
Yes,
Sorry.
he scored one. He scored one.
The
I want the
95th
whole of
minute.
3.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
Oh,
Okay,
no,
that's
I would never-
the Sheffield game.
Yeah.
But anyway, when Vardy scores, he likes to back it up with quite a few goals. So I could have counted
Yeah.
that argument. Anyway.
But isn't this also a triple captain kind of week?
This
game
is such a
Wow.
triple captain kind of week.
Whoa,
This is-
guys, what
This is
are
a
you doing?
tasty triple captain kind of week. Because, I mean, you know he's going to score against Brighton. He's playing at home. And also, the games that he has
Here's
to
a fun
have
stat.
after this are horrible. But yeah.
Fun stat, Jamie Vardy has not scored a goal at home. He scored 1 goal at home. He scored, I think, 8 goals this season. He's only scored 7 away, 1 at home. So you could run yourself into the trap. I thought of triple captaining, but then I kind of was like, whoa, wait. This man...
But there are people. It's a double game week. It's a double game week.
Is it a double game week, guys?
It's not Cyrus. It's not a double game week.
It's a double game week.
You're telling me that my hospital pass isn't going to work, and you guys have done your homework. I was hoping some of the triple captains, and then I make A.
But here's the thing.
Okay,
Here's what's
crap.
happening, right? So we need to tell the viewers and the listeners that we won't have a cheap seats before the next game week starts. So it's not a double game week. It's 2 game weeks within the space of 3 days. So you'll probably need to make your substitutions in on Monday to get everything going. So for the second part of the game week, here's some of the fixtures. You got City versus West Brom, Wolves versus Chelsea, Arsenal, Southampton, Leeds, Newcastle, Leicester, Everton, Fulham, Brighton, Liverpool, Spurs, West Ham, Crystal Palace, Aston Villa, Burnley, Sheffield, and Manchester United. I'm looking at that Chelsea West Brom game, Man City West Brom game, and I'm looking at Dean going, maybe that could be a KDB situation. Because obviously we can't captain Salah against Spurs, but you never know.
It's literally the only reason why I brought in De Bruyne for Salah, because you had Fulham, then you find he's got the Manchester derby, which he'll probably return something, and then West Brom. I mean, it's, 3 fixtures you have to capitalize on. So if you've got De Bruyne, go De Bruyne. If you don't, please don't bring him in, because I've got him.
And then there's another triple captaincy situation if Ole wants to do this, but I don't think he'll play Bruno against Sheffield. But Manchester United close out that second game week with Sheffield. That's a tasty one for them. And then Leicester play Everton, which is a little bit of a toughie. Southampton play Arsenal, so please, Captain Danny.
He's going to run rampant.
Danny Ings, you can captain them. But okay, guys, let's close it out. Any final words on FPL? If there's bench boosts, triple captain, free hit, what do you guys are thinking? Any final words?
When is Hakim Ziyech coming back, Cyrus? And how long is he out for? Because you just ruined my fantasy team.
They said couple of weeks.
26th of December
Mine
is the
too.
thing. So I had to take him out. I couldn't. I had to take him out. But okay, thank you very much, guys.
You
That
have
brings
to.
us to
Pulisic the guy, though.
Yes, he is. He's slightly more expensive, but you find yourself in a little bit of a sticky wicket there. But thank you very much, guys, for joining us on the FPL show and on Cheap Seats, the Premier League show. It's a full 1 hour. Thank you very much, gents. Remember, everybody watching, that please do interact with us on these various platforms. Also, the guys' Twitter handles are there, so you can tell us if our teams look bad, or if you like our teams, or if we're hitting it spot on. But thank you very much for joining. Thanks, guys. And from ourselves, until next week, enjoy the double fixtures that are going to happen. It's Christmas, it's December. That's the best time of the year. From myself and Paul, Cyrus, Dean, and AB, le sale kakahiso.